use the Steam discovery queue a lot. So much so that its algorithm has been serving me up unique indie games on a hot, steamy platter on an almost daily basis. This perfect wavelength I share with my discovery queue started thousands of games ago, so you can probably imagine how much my wishlist has grown over the years. 2024 was no exception for the barrage of amazing finds perfectly curated before my eyes, and in an effort to bring some more attention to some of my favourite experiences that were released last year, I decided to make a video focusing on the 5 most underrated indie titles I played that you probably haven't, unless you have a Steam discovery queue problem like I do. As a general rule, I've stuck to games with fewer than 200 reviews as of writing. And to start off with an unsurprising genre choice for my channel, let's begin with Late's Homework. This bite-sized PS1-inspired game combines an Animal Crossing-esque protagonist with survival horror. Blanketed by crunchy visuals and satisfying dithering, the dark, eerie high school setting we rummage through for homework assignments is also home to a vicious entity patrolling the hallways. Throughout the hour or so that a first playthrough will take you, you'll be subjected to puzzles, written notes, and the scratchy, breathing sounds of the creature when it's nearby. It's a classic formula packaged within an oddly fitting art style in a contained location, and the cutscenes in particular were lovely to look at and obviously had a lot of care put into them. There are actually many details that surprised me for such a little game, including a first-person camera and a behind-the-shoulder view in case something is chasing you and you want to freak yourself out even more. In addition to that, there are ranks for playthroughs, cheat codes, and alternate costumes too, which was a clear indicator to me that the developer has a very good understanding of the PS1, PS2 era of iconic survival horror titles. Just as a warning, however, if you die 3 times, you will have to start from the very beginning, which did almost throw me off the game completely because I thought I lost 45 minutes of progress. But I'm very glad I went back with my knowledge of what I did up until that point, as it took me no time at all to catch up. And on a later speedrun playthrough, I ended up finishing the entire game in under 10 minutes. So yeah, don't be discouraged if you get a game over, because you do end up meshing with the game's logic quite quickly. Plus, life can get pretty hectic, so I seriously appreciate games that I can finish in an evening, and I'm very happy I spent one of mine with Late's Homework. Next up is Proximate, which initially caught my attention due to its unique mechanics and use of traversal as its primary tool for administering horror. Premise-wise, you work for a tech company, which is about as dystopian as it gets, and you're sent to scout out a research facility to unearth what happened to the team there who have mysteriously gone silent. However, this task isn't going to be as simple as it seems, as your employers are requiring you to wear their new visor that's in development, reducing your view of reality to a combination of a compass, a probability percentage, and what seem to just be words. That said, these words are actually what's in front of you and their distance from you. For example, you might be looking for an exit from a room, so once you catch the word door occupying the center of the visor, you'd move forward, and keep an eye on the distance to ensure you're getting closer to it, adjusting your rotation if necessary. There is a map you can access which obviously helps, but making your way around is disorienting and stressful by design. The tension it creates also slightly changes in different ways, introducing new obstacles just when you're getting a little too comfortable. And as much as I'd like to describe a couple examples, I really do think the surprise of these gameplay evolutions is part of its charm, so I'll let you discover those for yourself if you're interested in playing. It's probably not that surprising to learn that you're not alone in the facility. And the lack of proper vision adds so much more to the unsettling nature of the situation because your imagination is forming something so much worse to fill those gaps. The sound design conveys just enough information as well, accompanying the singular words popping up onto your screen and giving rise to a very memorable experience as you uncover the story of the researchers based here. A bulk of the storytelling can be found in chat logs and emails that you download, whereby you learn more about the workers' personalities and relationships, as well as what they were doing before everything went to hell. In addition to the dread and claustrophobia, there are also some very funny moments to lighten things up every now and again, making Proximate a compelling title that you end up wanting more of as the credits roll. So I actually found out way too late that this next game came out on itch.io a couple years ago. But the Steam release was 2024 and I really enjoyed it, so I have decreed an exception for Beetle Ninja. This Earthbound-like is a quirky little game that has such a relaxing and gentle eeriness to it. A playthrough takes place over 14 in-game days before the end of the world, and you choose how you want to spend your time until the cataclysmic event. Each day you can take calls in your office, which may offer a part-time job or mission that whisks you away to a minigame or different area where you'll explore and fight enemies while completing a specific objective. After you've completed your task, you'll be paid a reward for your efforts, which can be spent on resources found in the hub world that consists of a street with numerous shops, a training dojo, and a bar where you can hire other ninjas to join your team. Each ninja type has their own moves and playstyle, so you can experiment with them and see if you want to keep spending the money on their hiring fee for each day's mission. Over time, you come to know the hub world quite well, feeling at ease and checking for different secrets and pathways that may eventually open up, as well as the new characters that appear along with the slight changes that each day brings. Even the home office you wake up in every day has an affecting coziness, as every ninja you've previously hired will congregate there. Seeing them just hanging out and building this home for heroes for hire before the end of the world is quite sweet. Plus, you can even spend your money on decorating the place to make it your own if you want to. It seems kinda pointless to work and spend money when there's a catastrophe on the way that would wipe everything out, but it makes the mundane daily life part of the game all the more special through its impermanence. It's a very vibey game, so don't expect anything too fast-paced, as you'll be walking around a lot of varying environments and possibly getting a little lost. As you make your way through, you'll stumble across unsettling areas and enemy designs as things get bleaker and bleaker. Although, as you have the choice of how to spend your remaining days, the result is that you have a direct impact on how it all ends. Of course, this provides a good deal of replayability, in addition to being a way to try out different playstyles or even challenging yourself to find all the available ninja types. For the record, Beetle Ninja took me about 3 hours for my first playthrough, and since it's free to play, it doesn't hurt to give it a go. The award for my very close second favourite indie game of the year goes to Anthology of the Killer, a horror comedy series made up of 9 episodes that have been released over the last few years and compiled into a single package on Steam. The episodes are found within an exhibition space where you can choose which story you want to jump into, engaging with each one as though it's a short interactive installation in a gallery. The series follows the protagonist BB, who goes on surreal adventures in search of materials for her zine that throws both her and her friends into bizarre liminal environments, populated with the not-so-friendly faces from time to time. It has such a unique atmosphere that I can only liken to a late 90s or early 2000s cartoon that would come on just after your usual bedtime, and only on those occasional nights where your parents let you stay up a little longer will be when you can catch an episode. And it's kinda like if Courage the Cowardly Dog didn't have to hold back on gore. And just like a good TV show, Anthology of the Killer had me hooked. I completely fell in love with how everything flows between dream and nightmare, all punctuated with humour and nostalgia that struck at something deep in my memories. It touched on some very specific feelings that continuously surprised me, like clocking into a grey, depressing office job or the feeling of uncovering a forgotten relic in an attic. It's a setting filled with absurdity, yet there's so much that's comfortably familiar, which the dreamlike soundtrack lifts up into an even cozier experience, and is something I still listen to for that wash of pleasant memories over my mind. There are various changes that occur across the series, from their themes to their visuals, with some episodes introducing new malicious villains and others bringing back an enemy you've seen in an earlier adventure, or maybe you're thrown into the shoes of a different character entirely. Anthology of the Killer isn't a traditional video game in the sense that it just doesn't feel like anything else I've ever played. And for those of you who revel in the ambience of virtual spaces, as I've described, you will surely find something special here. I personally played every part in chronological order, and it was during the third episode called Jewel of the Killer that everything clicked for me and I could not stop playing. There's also a virtual museum you can access with character biographies and displays filled with the different animations used in the series, which is super fun to explore too, and serves as a lovely behind-the-scenes gallery to peruse at the end of this unforgettable title. The final game on this list is not just my favourite indie of the year, but one of my favourite games of all time. Disillusion ST is kinda like a mixture of LSD Dream Emulator, Kowloon's Gates, Yume Nikki, and GarageBad Dream Adventure, where you explore abstract dungeon crawler environments in search of 12 key items. You can choose whether or not to enable combats with the option of a pacifist mode, though personally I chose to indulge in beating up a little freak or two and watching the beautifully detailed animations of special moves adorn my screen. Navigation around the game world is mostly randomized, as you're transported through labyrinthine floors with no map, and only a selection of doors that may spawn. It's very disorienting and is very much meant to make you feel lost most of the time, which is pertinent to the story and setting. And letting go of the uncomfortability of being lost allowed me to find my bearings in a way. Despite the disordered maze of floors you're stumbling through, you still have a sense of progression via gorgeous 90s-inspired FMV cutscenes to mark a step forward through a chain of events. There may be specific doors tied to these major chains that you slowly figure out as you go, whereas others may be guaranteed to lead you to a certain character or floor type. Eventually, you'll be introduced to an addictive card game and even a basic pet simulator, engaging with strange characters and their stories, which all culminate in a sense of belonging in this bizarre, chaotic place. There were times where I even managed to capture a slice-of-life atmosphere, and at almost every turn I felt surprised and touched by what I would see and read. The story is incredibly philosophical at parts, and I'm not going to pretend I understood it enough to articulate the details into words, but I always understood it in terms of emotions instead. The game speaks in its own language of visuals and sound, soaking you in its ethereal trance-like soundtrack that breathes further life into its digital dreamscapes. I got a kind of peace out of Disillusion ST that I rarely find, and the 3D rendered cutscenes floored me with how effortlessly stylish and evocative they were. There's a whole cast of enigmatic characters that you slowly form relationships with and grow a strong fondness for, and the dialogue can switch from the most heartbreaking thing you've ever read in one scene to then having a creature tell you how much they love poodles. Safe to say it's a very human experience, and one that has haunted my brain since I played through all the available multiple endings. Luckily for me though, my time with the game world isn't completely over, since it's a prequel to a game called Disillusion, which I haven't played yet, and I'll be sure to savor when I do. It's so inspiring to interact with such one-of-a-kind creative works like this, and I genuinely think this game kinda changed my life. Now, aside from those 5 games, I also wanted to very briefly talk about a couple other worthy mentions in the indie realm. There are of course the more popular titles like Web Fishing and the phenomenal Mouthwashing, which left quite the mark on such an impressive year. And I also loved cooking up sardines and cigarettes in Arctic eggs, and immediately dying in the PvP chaos of Straftat. I dabbled in the arcade FPS genre with Spare Devil's 90s bowling aesthetic, and put in a lot more time than I thought I would, fighting my way through endless waves of thematically appropriate enemies. There was one evening I spent squeezing eggs and trying to harness my intuition so I could let go just before the eggshells cracked, racking up points and unlocking new noisy on-screen elements in Egg Squeeze.
Oh yeah,
And on another day, I took some time to explore the charming casino setting of Electrobasis. I fondly remember the hours I shared with Judaro, a poetic epic tale rooted in Scottish folklore, and also adored the 2024 update of the deeply surreal horror experience of Closer to Home, which is a criminally underrated title. Over the years, my taste in games has changed a lot, and as I've grown a little bored of the stasis of evolution in the AAA industry, I've started to search out more unconventional titles to see more of what the medium has to offer. This last year provided me with so many remarkable virtual worlds to explore, and with equally unique presentations through art direction, sound, and/or mechanics, all thanks to the indie sphere. I'll have links to every game I spoke of in the description, and if you do check them out, please consider leaving a review as well, since that can really help out developers get a bit more reach with their games. It's been a pleasure indulging in all the fantastic titles this last year had to offer, and I look forward to what's undoubtedly going to be another amazing year for indies. So without further ado, let's get to the montage you've all been waiting for to see what's in store, and keep an eye on the top left for the game names. I'd like to thank my patrons for all their support, and a huge thank you for watching. I'm so grateful for all the support this past year as I transitioned into doing YouTube full-time, and hope to continue making stuff everyone can enjoy. If you're interested in my future work, you're welcome to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.